Yeah. Okay. Well, I haven't got any pictures of artworks because when I think about it, I'm the artwork. So this is sort of happening, if you like, and it's a bit of a confession I wanted to give you this evening. You know, so I might blush even. Okay. So when I was at school, I had this idea of seeking and finding the truth. You know, it's probably because I wore thick glasses, had spots, and had big Bugs Bunny teeth. So, and the sort of truth I was looking for, it wasn't the subjective truth of the arts that interested me. It was what I thought was the real objective truth of science. And this was at a time when physicists they seemed to be on the verge of discovering the ultimate constituents of matter. You know, it was very exciting. It's like peer Gynt's onion. You peel away one skin and you get another skin. You peel away that skin and you also cry a lot because it suffers. Anyway, things got complicated. They kept on banging particles together at greater and greater speeds and discovering more and more ultimate constituents of matter. And this is what we have so far. It works. Which looks to me like some sort of periodic table of elementary particles which we don't quite understand yet. You know, it's full of electrons, positrons, anti-bottom quarks, bosons, gluons, electron neutrinos, muon neutrinos, tau neutrinos, tarantinos. For me, it's just a mess for the moment. We don't understand anything. And I think we got to this point because when they discovered a quark, they thought they discovered everything, but then they started discovering different types of quarks, and then they discovered all these little things. And so they thought they were going to find one thing, but in fact they found a pile of things. And I think actually they forgot that little poem of Jonathan Swift, which you all know. So naturalists observe, a flea has smaller fleas that on him prey, and these have smaller still to bite him, and so proceed ad infinitum. And we have a little thing that should be animated even. There's a flea, and that's the flea on top of the flea, and that's the flea on top of the flea, and there's another flea, and there's another flea, and there's another flea. And in fact, he goes down and down. Actually, if I do that quickly, maybe we're going to have an animation, no? Yeah, that's cheating. So you got it? We got it. No, that's the smallest one. So there was Jonathan Swift who wrote that in 1773. And of course, it's not quite true, because when those fleas get quantum small, they start behaving strangely. They're everywhere and nowhere at the same time until they bite you, that is, which is counted as an observation according to the Copenhagen interpretation. So I went off to Oxford University and soon realized that if I was going to find this truth, I'd have to add philosophy. So I took physics and philosophy. And Oxford is quite strange philosophy, because the first year you ask questions like you ask yourself, do tables exist? The second year, does God exist? The third year, do I exist? And then you finish off with the sort of Wittgensteinian linguistic philosophy, where you realize that all your questions didn't mean anything. So you end up not knowing where you are, what you are, or who you are. So I might just as well have read Lewis Carroll's Hunting of the Snark, which is, they sought it with thimbles, they sought it with care, they pursued it with forks and hope. They threatened its life with a railway share, they charmed it with smiles and soap. Now, oh yeah, we're on the right one. So you get a first impression that it means something, then you realize it's nonsense, but there's a sort of sense in the nonsense. All the researchers should read The Hunting of the Snark, because it tells you all about what you're doing and what you shouldn't do. So then after Oxford, I got into research doing a PhD in radiation dosimetry, because if you don't know what to do after your degree, you do a PhD. And there I learned a very important lesson. The lesson was, it's not measuring that's difficult, it's knowing what you measure. Because there's so many people who measure things, but they actually don't, and it's getting even worse actually with big data, because there's so much data going around that nobody knows what it is anymore, and they expect the computer to analyze it and tell them what they were looking for. So what I was actually doing there, in lay terms, it's like if you want to measure the level of water in a bucket, you put a ruler inside it. But when you put the ruler inside it, of course, you measure the level of the water with the ruler inside it. And it's much more complicated in radiation fields, because you stick a Geiger counter into a mixed radiation field. And it's not very interesting to know the radiation level in a metal box inside when inside a metal box. It's not very interesting. What interests us, really, is the radiation levels in a box full of skin, a box of skin full of bones and organs. And that's what I tried to do for my research thing. So with the PhD in hand, I got a job at the Cancer Research Institute in London, where in the presence of cancer patients, the difference between objective and subjective truth got a bit blurred because the people were dying around me. And then things were also getting more complicated in my head, especially with quantum mechanics, where objective truth seemed to have lost its meaning. Subjective and objective seem to be mixed, because the mere observation of a phenomenon changes that phenomenon. And it's not just the poking with a stick observation, it's also passive observation. So something very strange is going on, and that's where I quote Feynman, who said, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, then you don't understand quantum mechanics. He also said physics is like sex. Sure, it may give some practical results, but that's not why we do it. And that's a Geiger counter. And there's a picture of Feynman not having sex, playing the bongos. But I'm sure the smile's the same. He also said if he could explain his work to the average person, it wouldn't have been worth the Nobel Prize, but I could spend all the evening quoting Feynman. Okay, so that's one objectivity destroyed by quantum mechanics. So remember, I was looking for some objective truth, absolute truth, etc. There's another subjectivity which is not always talked about. It's a sort of point of view subjectivity. Because we're limited in our possible conception of the universe. It's almost as if we live in a walled garden. If we could travel near the speed of light, or if we were very, very heavy enough to bend space-time, then maybe we could comprehend relativity, because relativity is not at all intuitive, and in that sense we can't understand it. The calculations work and everything, but we can't understand it, we can't comprehend it. And in the same way, if we were very, very small, we could understand quantum mechanics. And there we are. We know what it would like to be a particle and go through two slits at the same time. If we're very, very small, we'd know what it's like to be both a particle and a wave, sort of LGBT at some very fundamental level. By LGBT, I mean lepton, gluon, boson, tau, of course. So that's another subjectivity. Another sort of... Somebody walked in? No. Then there's the Gödel logical type of limitations to objectivity. Because our systems will always be incomplete or inconsistent. We complain about being in a traffic jam, forgetting that we are part of the traffic jam, which is, we live Russell's paradox. Does a set of all sets that don't contain themselves contain itself? And that always hurts my brain when I think about it. Does a set of all sets that don't contain themselves contain itself? And I'll actually show you a slide of Bertrand Russell. That's what I call the iconoclast smirk. What he told us, we are intrinsically part of something we are trying to extricate ourselves from in order to explain it. That we meet up with this problem in artificial intelligence because we're actually inside, but we want to get outside to explain the inside. But we're inside. There's something very strange there. And I'm getting to another subjectivity. There's a sort of type of language subjectivity. As soon as we try to express something, we are being subjective. And I'm going to give you a very easy example, a very simple example, almost a stupid example, actually. An electron is intrinsically negative. When we started calling electrons negative, it was almost a random choice made in the 18th century. I think it was something to do with Benjamin Franklin. And because we could have called the electron positive, and its opposite negative. And even now, when you draw a circuit diagram, you generally draw a little arrow going from positive to negative, because we tend to think positive to negative, from plus to minus. But electrons don't go that way. So negative is just a name, and a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. An Englishman can't give a conference without quoting Shakespeare. But it's not as simple as that, because in negative, it's got connotations, emotional connotations in everyday language. It's almost as if a negative electron was a little sadder or inferior to the positive proton. Happy-go-lucky proton and depressive electron. well, neutral neutron just couldn't give a damn. And to illustrate this, so there we have happy proton, neutral neutron, and sad electron. And it's not to scale, of course. So in the sense, all understanding is subjective, because objective understanding should not be inherently limited. So what interests me, then, is, this is the personal bit, is when subjectivity and objectivity come together. You know, that tingling, that transcendental moment where everything falls into place. You know, we've got Wordsworth and his host of golden daffodils. We've got the end of Sibelius' Seventh Symphony, where it's also all builds up, and there's all of a sudden a magnificent release. There's the moment when you can't turn your page over. There's the moment when the ball comes flying towards you. You lift up your hand almost instinctively. The ball lands in the hand. You close the hand instinctively. And it's there in your hand. You've caught the ball. You know, there's space, time, the laws of mechanics, and there's something else. And I wonder if that something else is art. And to illustrate the art, that's a picture of Johnny Bench. No, I don't know anything about baseball, but apparently Johnny Bench was the best catcher ever. And there I think he's demonstrating the oxygen atom with baseball balls or something. Anyway, I started to think about this tingle, you know. I'm sure you felt it when something happens and everything seems, you know, it's like Zen and the art of archery or something, and everything falls into place. And it's almost passing from a state of catching the ball, from not catching the ball to catching the ball, from not understanding to understanding. And I always relate this to a particular moment in my physics career. I can vividly remember the couple of days I spent trying to understand Fourier transforms and as applied to quantum mechanics. And there's the formula. So I can remember struggling. You know, I can remember the exact place of struggle. It was 3 Cripley Road. It was a crappy little apartment just behind the railway station in Oxford. And I can remember the pain and frustration of the struggle, the fear and embarrassment of not succeeding before the next tutorial. And then the eureka moment and the emotion that came with it. And in fact, I now remember the emotion, but not the maths, unfortunately. So my world was split into before and after the state of not understanding and the state of understanding. I was released from the tragedy of not being able to comprehend. The 300 years of this old maths that was invented 300 years ago was perfectly suited to the 20th century physics. Time dissolved. The potential trauma of not succeeding evaporated, and my sudden emotional shift was a real catharsis in the classical sense. And this, for me, was a moment of science meeting art. Because I've written it all down there. My awareness was stimulated, my senses aroused, my capacity for perception increased, my scientific mind broadened, I was empowered. And this feeling, this tingle has never left me, and it's why I'm here today. So I told myself there's a subjective truth and an objective truth, and maybe some other form of truth, I wondered. So I tried to find a word for it, hybrid truth, hybrid understanding, but it just sounds ugly and incomplete. So instead of looking for an adjective to replace subjective or objective in my empirical Anglo-Saxon way, I just got rid of the adjective. So I don't call it objective truth or subjective truth, I just call it truth. Not subjective understanding or objective understanding, just understanding. So it's not science or art, just art, science. And that was the conclusion.